All everybody, welcome. This is episode 29 of my podcast, and today I'm very pleased to welcome Mark James, who is an architect and design director of Laurence Associates, who are a Cornwall-based architectural practice, but they also, I'm right in saying, Mark, I think they have an in-house town planners, landscape architects, all working together under one roof. And although you're based in Cornwall, I think you've got projects all over the UK. Is that right, Mark?
Yeah, majority of work is here in Cornwall, but got a few round and about across the country, doing a few big solar projects, more for the planning side.
Okay,
In
yeah.
that sense.
Um, your residential, commercial, bit of everything, is that right?
So yeah, as a practice, really, we would take on most things from small extensions to commercial, industrial, residential projects, developments for housing estates, that sort of thing. So a good mix. We've got a good skill set across the office
Yeah.
in various sectors. Myself, I've done various bits and pieces in my time, from big cow sheds
That
to
seems to be the kind of
one-off
buzz thing at the
houses.
moment, isn't
So
it? Cow sheds, yeah.
catering for all of Cornwall's
Yeah,
residents,
yeah,
the four-legged to the two-legged.
yeah,
But yeah, I think typically now here at Laurence Associates we do a lot of residential stuff, really. That's kind of our bread and butter, the one-offs and the small, I guess you call them boutique developments of
yeah,
smaller houses, or conversions of clusters of barns and things like that for various farmers and other clients.
yeah. The whole cowshed thing. I'm hearing a lot more about that nowadays. It's so obviously your work is it's quite bespoke as well, isn't it? Actually, you work on a lot of bespoke buildings,
Yeah.
but as well as so new builds, i.e. the cowshed, um, through to existing properties as well. Are you involved in existing properties, or is it mainly new build stuff that you?
Yeah, a lot of like I say, conversions of barns and things. We do a fair bit of that. Extensions to properties.
Yeah,
A lot of people like their houses, don't they, and just want to add a little bit more room for growing family, or getting more generations within in one space. Seems to be something that's happening more and more as house prices go up and people
yeah,
struggle to get
yeah.
onto the ladder in the first place. So there's a bit of that. But yeah, the majority of stuff we really do here is the one-off residential, um, various scales and locations and sites across the county. We like to do the nice ones, the coastal ones, and the
Yeah.
ones with the nice views. But at the same time, it's nice when you're doing something slightly smaller and a bit more modest as well. Where there's just trying to create homes for people, really.
Of
I think
course,
that's
yeah,
why I kind of got into architecture in the first place, was creating spaces for people to enjoy and live in. I think the approach that I'd kind of take and we kind of take here is trying to create functional spaces.
yeah,
Um, what something looks like on the outside is important. Try and make things look nice, but if you've got a nice looking house that doesn't work functionally, then
yeah,
does it really work? So yeah, try and understand how people want to live, how they want to use those spaces and explore, and understand their lifestyle, really, to develop a house that works for them. And then
So
in
you
case
do
that
take a
makes
guide. You
that,
take a huge guide on any client, and you really do lead the process and let people listen to what you have to say, basically.
yeah, try and get inside people's heads, I guess, a little bit. And
Yeah,
people live in different ways, don't they, and have different priorities. Some people want living spaces to be snug and cozy and out of the way, and some want them to be wow spaces that overlook taking the view.
yeah,
Some want TV, some don't, and little things like that. It's important things to make sure that they work for people and they've got a space at the end of the day that they're happy and comfortable and want to live in. And then in terms of our approach outside, how things look, I take some traditional form,
yeah,
but give it a contextual twist. Try and add in simple detailing, contextual materials, stone, slate for Cornwall typically.
Yeah.
Bit of timber, natural stuff just to soften it up.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way. It's kind of a practice approach, and something I quite strongly believe in is making sure that buildings sit comfortably in their landscapes and of the place.
That's really good.
Not,
Yeah.
so
That's really good. And of course, your background, you are, although Laurence Associates being an older practice, you're relatively new, is that right? You've been there a year or so, is that right?
less than that. So I joined Laurence Associates in September.
Oh, okay.
Prior to
Yeah.
that, I've been in other practices across the county. I'm born and bred in the southwest.
Yep.
Always been in Cornwall really for most of my life. Went off to Birmingham to do my part two, and then swiftly came back.
Yeah.
Enjoyed the difference in the city life, but it wasn't really for me. So come back home to
Yeah. Fair enough.
develop my career and carry on from there. Been working in, I guess, for Cornwall, fairly big practices. We've got 20 plus staff here, 10 on the design side, and then planners and landscape, like I say earlier, on the multidisciplinary
Yeah.
approach. And I've worked on various scales of projects, as I was saying earlier, and a lot of experience across various sectors, and trying to turn my hand to most things. Very technical
Yeah.
approach, really. In the way that I work, I've worked across all stages of the job. I don't just hand things over at the end of planning, which is unusual for, I think, quite a lot of architects.
Yeah.
Quite conceptual, and we'll get something to a planning stage and then it's more over to a technician. I've always worked through most of my career. I've worked through all of the stages, building regs and technical design, which I think helps nowadays, particularly with the way that the regulations are going. There's a lot more that you've got to think about early stages, early doors, and make sure having the knowledge of them allows you to make sure that when you get to that stage of getting something to site, hopefully you haven't missed something fundamental. That means you've got to go back around and look at things again.
So by having it's unusual, I'm speaking to practices of all shapes and sizes all over the country. I don't know if this was like a previous practice you came from, but it's unusual to have town planners and all under one roof. It's normally sublet to those professionals elsewhere, isn't it? But how do you find that? Is that of benefit, do you think, all being under the one roof?
I think it takes the pressure off and allows architects to do a bit more design side and dealing with the building a bit more, rather than having to deal with the bureaucracy.
Yep.
As I think most architects know, there's a lot of bureaucracy that goes on in the planning side now, and lots of policy changes and rules and things that are constantly changing, and it's keeping up with them. And I think it's great. One of the reasons that attracted me here to Laurence Associates was that in-house ability, and it's great. If you're designing something, you can pop it in front of a planner. Several of our planners have come from local authority backgrounds here, so have really good experience in that side, and you can kind of pop it in front of them and they'll give you a realistic view from a local planner as to which way to go and how to kind of steer things, make sure that we're getting as much across the line as we can. I think it gives us a lot of flexibility in our approach as well, to try and push those boundaries and work within and around the policies to maximise what we're able to achieve on sites and the potential of sites.
Planning restraints. I'm talking to practices in central London that obviously have their restraints because of their location. You, being often a lot of your clients very rural, come across similar constraints, I should imagine, different environmental constraints or whatever it may be, but equally as challenging.
Yeah, as well, there's things like the national landscape. Large swathes of Cornwall fall into the national landscapes, or the old area of outstanding natural beauty. They've always got their challenges, and mining heritage is a big thing down here as well. So as well as the direct policy, you've also got those other inputs that you've got to consider in terms of the visual impact and how that development affects the reading of that landscape and how people experience the the wider national landscapes as well as the mining heritage.
Yeah.
So yeah, with its own unique challenges, I think, in a lot of locations across Cornwall, a lot of the jobs that we're working on.
So does with you being, obviously a long-term established business, does most of your work, I know you mentioned it, which we'll go on to, you do some stuff elsewhere in the UK. Is most of your work then word of mouth, I presume, or do you, how does a lot of things come through the door?
I think, yeah, the majority is word of mouth, past clients, moving on to the other jobs. We've got quite a good relationship with builders and developers
Yeah.
down here in certain ones. I think as everyone is trying to do is keeping up with social media and
Yeah.
trying to get stuff out there on that side of things and keeping up to date and trying to share projects as we get approvals and as things go to site and keeping people updated. I think, as we were saying earlier, the multidisciplinary aspect of our practice appeals to a lot of people of kind of a one-stop shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having to deal with one company rather than ending up with 3 or 4 different companies feeding in and trying to get all of them to align at the same time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Isn't there you have a sister company, which is a structural engineering firm as well, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, so we have Form structural engineers
Yeah.
in the same building as us as well. So again, when you get to later stages, it's great to just be able to have a quick chat with them about how you can get something to work, what the best approach is going to be.
Yeah.
Do you need skyhooks?
Yeah.
We always try to push them a little bit and
Yeah.
not make things too easy for them.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And well, there's always been the joke of the architect against the engineer, hasn't there? And you're in the same building, so Friday lunchtime pints must be interesting. But um,
Yeah.
so what about the makeup of the practice then? I think you said there was 10 architectural design staff and 10 others, if you will. How are they made up? Do you have junior staff from the part one right through to senior level like yourself, or?
Yeah, so we've got 2 architects here at the moment, and then I think we've got 4 architectural technicians, part twos,
Yeah.
and then we've got a couple of more senior technical staff that support once stuff gets to building regulation stage and the technical side. We've got admin that help with report pulling together and the social media side.
Yeah.
And then we've got a couple of landscape architects who support with landscape visual impact assessments and planting schedules and supporting that side of the process. And then obviously our planning team with planning director and then our team of planners underneath that from graduates right the way through. So a good
Do you
mix.
Do you find a challenge when you're looking, if you needed a new, an architect, a senior architect tomorrow, for example, the challenge of location being a problem, because obviously there's only a certain pool that you can select from.
Yeah, I think recruitment in Southwest from past experience and here is always a bit of a challenge, is drawing in the right people. You got people that want to move. Some people want to move to Cornwall.
Yeah.
Some people prefer the city life, obviously, and I think you've got to find the right people that are wanting to move for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And complementing your team as well. But recruitment's always been a challenge in the Southwest of just getting the right occupants in and people that are willing to relocate as well down into the area.
Well, it's a stunning part of the world, and obviously some of the work
Absolutely.
you've been involved in is obviously fun. We talked about the landscape, the sea views, and any of the projects you work on. So going on to that, then what's kind of on the drawing board at the moment of interest to talk to the audience about? You talked about cowsheds and stuff. Is there anything in particular that stands out?
We've got a couple of nice replacement dwellings we're looking at the moment.
Yep.
A nice one at Porthcoffin where we're looking at replacing a
That's a very nice
cowshed
area,
Class Q.
Yeah.
We've got received permission, but the clients looking at something a bit less agricultural and a little bit more comfortable.
Okay. Yeah.
There's always a conflict, I think, with those type of the Class Q. That I think it's a good piece of legislation used in the right way, and it's then the difficulty is how you then convert them and make sure that they are functional and achieving, I guess, the right level of energy consumption without ultimately just rebuilding it. I think Cornwall's quite open to the rebuild approach, so it's something we do quite often. And then we've got replacement dwelling that we're working on a stronger point, overlooking the water, which is quite a nice, interesting build.
So these are existing properties that you're literally going to clear the land and totally start from fresh.
Yeah, like I said, we've looked at both of them really, and the amount of work and energy that's involved in renovating those up to a modern standard and to get the insulations levels up to where they need to be in air tightness. The bungalow we're looking at replacing was 1960s, 1970s, so not the best construction, and has had its day. So both where we're looking to replace the existing structures with new dwellings.
Yeah, but probably the one in Porthcothan, I know Porthcothan very well. Wherever you turn, you've got stunning views, haven't you? So if it's a 1960s bungalow that's coming down, I can only imagine what's going to be replaced. I can, quite exciting for you to do as well, and lovely to go on location to go and, survey and see and all the rest of it. It's a fantastic part of the world.
Yeah, as long as you pick the right day.
As long as you pick the right day, yeah. It's it's always sunny in Cornwall, surely. But
yeah, we get liquid sunshine sometimes.
yeah, yeah, I know that kind. But no, and then historically, there's a couple of interesting projects there. Historically, then, what are kind of on behalf of Laurence Associates, probably before your time, if you've been there 9 months or whatever, September, any kind of standout projects from the practice that kind of drew you to go and work there in the first place, as well as obviously being multidisciplinary and all the rest of it. But
I think it's just the mix. I think here that's been on the cards is a good mix of various size projects. From new builds and again replacement dwellings. And then the smaller type developments where developers are often looking for a little bit more design input. Again, we've done a few exciting ones again on a stronger point. Large replacement dwelling with a impressive boathouse, quite a simple flat roof design, but really stunning project down there. Again, overlooking the water as they all do down on a stronger point. But yeah, I think it was kind of the style and approach that Laurence Associates take in terms of typically it's traditional kind of forms to fit in with what's going on in the wider landscape and the settings, local materials, and then just giving them that modern contemporary twist, making the most of views, making the most of the opportunities of the site. Just
do you find
dwellings, really.
Do you find clients, and again, this is talking to different areas of the country and specifically about planning policies and length of time, ultimately, that's a big bone of contention for a lot of practices that I speak to. Geographically, obviously, where you are down in the bottom of the southwest there, when you speak to a homeowner and say, look, we'll design this, we'll turn your home into a fantastic place and all the rest of it. However, it could take 18 months for even planning to even be thought about. Does the general member of public understand that, and do they embrace the fact that, hang on, we're not even going to lift our pen up until a year and a half's time? Or
I think that it's just managing expectations, really, and just being clear what that process is and how long it could take. You always get the odd project that gets caught up. Somebody might take offence to it locally who's got a bit of weight,
Yeah.
I think unfortunately that's still a bit of the case in lots of places is political
Yeah.
power, somewhat
Yeah.
sometimes somewhat steers um, the decisions. I think it's a case of unfortunately it's which officer you get sometimes and how they feel about a scheme and how strong and robust they are in dealing with that stuff that's coming in and how much weight they give comments from general public and parishes um, as to whether they what they're minded to do in terms of decision of pushing back against that or whether they're
Yeah.
minded to try and obviously if there's planning weight to those we understand that I think we, as I say, in terms of our position, we're quite unique having the planners inside, so we try and preempt the way things will go
Yeah.
early on and try and smooth that process out. But you still, from time to time, get those curveballs that you've got to deal with.
Yeah. Of course.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
And how do you the practice as it is right now? Obviously, you've got an awful lot of work on, and the pipeline, I presume, is long into the distant, which is brilliant. Because again, you hear nobody's necessarily scrabbling around, but it sounds like you've got an awful lot of work to keep you busy, to keep the team busy for the foreseeable, certainly. And what are kind of the plans of the business moving forward? Then, how does Laurence Associates see itself in the next kind of 5 years? Is there more growth plans? Are you staying as a team of 20 odd, or what's the thoughts?
I think at the moment, I've obviously, as we were saying earlier, not long come into the practice. We've had a fairly new planning director as well come in. I think we're both settling in at the moment.
Yeah.
I think the plan is to settle in and make sure that we're being robust in our approach to everything and client first, trying to get everything right and in place. And then we can always looking to build the team and build the business,
Yeah.
looking for new opportunities and directions to take. Um,
It's the one office, isn't it? Which is in Truro, or is there a second office, or did I make that up? Is there just the one office?
we did have two offices. We're now
Did I?
all based in Truro.
I thought you
So
did. I thought there were two. Yes.
all
Yeah.
in one location. Yeah, for a
Yeah.
short time there was two offices.
Yeah. That was to bring everybody under the same roof as we spoke about earlier, I
Yeah,
presume. Yeah.
bring everything together. I'm not sure exactly how long ago, but moved from building next door, which is a little bit smaller.
Yep.
Opportunity to move into literally the building next door. Move
Yeah.
across the car park to a slightly
Yeah.
bigger office that had the opportunity to bring everyone together.
Yeah. Of
Um,
course. Is there again talking to other practices? It's nice to just get a geographical region and size of business and all the rest of it. Um, do you since the whole COVID thing 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it was now? Is there still remote working, hybrid working, as they call it? Is that part of your business, or do you like everybody to be in, Monday to Friday still?
we got the majority of us in the office. Planners occasionally are at home when they're head down writing reports and pulling documents together.
Yeah,
We find it's quite good for collaboration and just those quick sit down conversations.
yeah,
Seem like getting together with people is great, but there's nothing that to beat a piece of paper and some trace and
yeah,
quick scribble over the top of it, and 5 minutes you've resolved it rather than trying
yeah,
to resolve it over the phone,
yeah,
trying to draw
absolutely.
on a computer screen.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. I mean, I think the world is coming back to pre-COVID times, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it is, and even a lot of the huge practices now that still were saying 1 or 2 days hybrid, remote and stuff. No, it's in your industry. I think personally, it's crucial that you are all in, that you can do exactly as the things you just mentioned.
I think it's software and computers as well. We're trying to
Yeah,
model everything in 3D and having that computing power at home and in the office to make sure that we can develop those designs and model everything fully.
yeah,
It's difficult to manage when you've got people working in a couple of places
yeah. Of
from
course,
a
yeah,
practical
and
perspective.
yeah. So generally, we've obviously discussed future plans, work that you're involved in now, and all the rest of it. Um, Obviously, my job. We've talked about social media nowadays. Being much more of a thing than it was. I'm of an age where in the 90s, it obviously wasn't important at all. But Lauren, you take great pride in obviously sharing your work and shouting from the rooftops about what you do. Obviously, you're very kindly part of Architecture Vogue magazine. We're doing this now, all about raising your profile. It's surprising how many don't do that. They do this fabulous work and then don't wish to share it anywhere, which is unusual. But what's the business approach on social media then, everything? I think you have somebody in the office that looks after that and takes care of that. Is that part of your kind of daily routine?
Yeah, so we try and flag projects as they come through various stages. We've got someone who deals with, their main role is dealing with the social media side and
Yeah.
the website. So kind of cross-working those to try and support traffic to the various channels. I think you've kind of got to work all of those social media channels with your website,
Yeah.
and broader strategy for engagement,
Yeah.
to try and cover off all of the bases. I think there's still people out there that value the face-to-face, the shows and things like that, and
Yeah.
meeting and greeting people. We're at the Royal Cornwall show in a few weeks, where
Yeah.
face-to-face and just showing people what we're doing. A lot of stuff on the website, just displaying that and talking people through it.
That must be very good. The Royal Cornwall show must be very good for you to have a stand, if you have a stand, and then obviously you've got a target audience of thousands of people that come through over those few days,
Yeah,
which is brilliant.
yeah, and there's definitely generations that will only deal with people face to face, and you can start to build those relationships.
Yeah.
At that time, when you initially touch base with people, that you're not relying on picking the right image or putting the right bit of text on to social media for people to pick up on, which, again, different generations, that's the way they're working.
Yeah, of course.
It's just trying to, I think it's trying to target everyone really, across the board.
Do any of your clients, have you ever come across, a project that you worked on where there's perhaps an NDA, so you've worked on it and you can't then share the work because of the sensitivity of it, or the homeowner doesn't want you to, or whatever it might be? Is that commonplace for you?
Yeah, there's often stuff where companies are keen to keep things with a lid on for a little bit of time. They don't want things out in the public domain for various reasons.
Yeah.
And then there's homeowners where it's their home at the end of the day, and it's
Yeah.
a privacy thing, isn't it? We like to share what we're up to.
Yeah.
For various reasons, marketing being one of the big ones, is shouting about what we're doing and what we can do,
Absolutely.
and what we
Yeah.
can offer to people.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's always people that would prefer it to just slide under the radar.
Yeah. Well, it's the work. Obviously, I've started recently to share some of your work as you're a new customer of mine, and the work that I've seen so far is fabulous. And obviously, through the course of the forthcoming months, I look forward to seeing more, and the work we've spoken about, cowsheds in particular. If there's any of those projects you want to share, because that's a buzz thing at the moment, isn't it? That seems to be quite sought after projects because they're interesting. They're visually very good to look at. They've interesting background and story to them, and if that's, for want of a better phrase, your bread and butter, then brilliant. Send some of those across, and we'll feature those. But well, look, it's everything you've done. Fair play to you. You're relatively new within Laurence Associates. You're obviously getting stuck in with both feet, and you're enjoying it, which is brilliant. That comes across very well. The fact that you're settling in and having worked for elsewhere for so many years beforehand, it's brilliant, and I look forward to seeing the rest of your work when you share it with us.
Yeah, we've got a few exciting ones coming. I think we've had a approval in the last few days for a nice one, which will be hopefully sharing soon. So
good. So
interesting
so very early stage, yeah. Obviously, just planning approval has gone through.
Yeah,
so.
planning approval. So we'll be progressing that one hopefully through to construction package, and then seeing it through on site.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you, Mark. It's been obviously this podcast forms part of the marketing strategy we spoke about. People love to see the work that you do, coupled with hearing your story and the story of the practice and the business and the work that you do. It's excellent, and thank you very much for coming on and chatting with me today.
No problem. Been a pleasure.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, nice to meet you.
And you.